Hello, my soul brothers and soul sisters. This is the Ron Smith Investigate Show, where we change the real from fake, the fact to fiction, and give you the winner's edge. And today, we might even turn your water into wine. Our special guest is Renika Latif Smith, and she has Renika Latif Consulting. I had to make sure I get that correctly. How you doing, Renika?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, very well. You know, we're gonna jump off on the deep end today because okay. I am gonna talk about with you dating, which is that's like going to a minefield right there. But one of the things that I know, I've been married over 42 years, so basically, I know the dating scene has changed tremendously. Even and most of the time, I get my information now from reality TV. So if it's the Wild Wild West on reality TV, give me a kind of picture of what's out there today. When I was out dating, I maybe had brought flowers, arranged the time that I was going to pick up the date. And we either went to a dinner or a movie. After the show, I might try to get a kiss and then walk her to a door and try to get a commitment to see me again, especially if I've been on my best behavior. So what has changed since then? And this was in the 80s, by the way, that's the last time I was trying to date someone.
Okay, so I want to preface this. This is my personal views and opinions about dating. They may change in the next year and a half. They've changed over the years. Based on your example alone, I'm going to tell you what's not going to happen. You're not picking me up. You wouldn't know where I live. Okay. We probably have multiple conversations before we would have even went out. And I'm going to explain to you why these things over the years, especially since the 80s, even then I still would question how you dated. Safety is a big concern for someone like me. I've had some interesting experiences with strangers that have always had me very on guard about knowing where I live, pretty much even what I drive. Mm-hmm. Sometimes some people go as far as to get there's different numbers you can get that's outside of your real phone number to even give out. So much variables happen in order for a first date to even take place. Okay. So for me, there are different avenues to date. There's online dating, all that type of thing. But let's just say I met a guy in person. If I met him in person, of course, I see he is who he says he is outside of online dating, where the picture could be from college. So he might not even look how he's supposed to be looking present day. Right. We would have a few conversations and we would meet out in public, and dinner is great. The problem with that is sometimes men don't do like what your example was, get a commitment for a second date. That doesn't really happen. Unfortunately, sometimes even the first date doesn't happen because it's a game of, and maybe it's fear of rejection. So the first dates are prolonged because people are not even communicating well or their intent.
During the 80s, there was no online dating. There was no, there was some catfishing, but it's not to the extent of where you use technology. And there was no such thing as speed dating other than that he was a serial dater. So how has technology changed the way you see dating, opposed to, since I didn't have the advantage of having technology, only matter of fact, the rotary phone, and I guess before there was the big old brick phone was, and of course I couldn't afford to have that, so that was out of my league. So how have online dating changed over the years?
Well, so I have the best of both worlds. So I grew up with a black and white TV. So I know the experience of just getting somebody's number and waiting for them to call you. There wasn't any texting, so I didn't have that privilege. But now with technology, it's giving you more options to find someone to date. Unfortunately, that's a good thing and a bad thing, because it can be overwhelming or underwhelming depending on how you look at it. So being that you live in a city, before technology, you're only around the people who are in your city or wherever you travel or hang out at. Online has opened it up. I could date somebody or quote unquote find somebody in another country. So that's the good aspect of it. The bad aspect of it, I feel like our social skills are diminishing because we're so used to shorthanding conversation. So we're really not getting to know people. Sometimes it may seem like an interview. Sometimes it seems like maybe we're not getting too connected because we have so many options to communicate, and we're not, and I hate to say old school, but we're not going back to having real conversations. So that's the tough thing. Now, you mentioned catfish, and online dating, you'll get a lot of that. Whether it be me posting pictures of me from 20 years ago, or maybe me putting the wrong height. A lot of men do that. There's this thing called hat fishing, where men only show you pictures of them in hats. And so that's what you view of them. Well, oftentimes a lot of men, once they take their hat off, they look like totally different people. And so you experience that. Or, like anything with social media, you're going to you have the option to show yourself in the best light that you see. And unfortunately, and this might be my perspective, but I have homegirls and I think they'll co-sign too. A lot of men don't put effort into their profiles. So they may not even be good at writing their profiles, which is pretty much like your personal bio. And they come across so boring. They may not be, but they come out that they lose women that may have been of interest to them, or maybe a connection, because they are just they're boring. So instant judgment is what it's called. Because I know you're not familiar with it. What happens is it's just like if let's just say you're looking for somebody for a position, and you have their resume. That's what would be considered a profile. On these apps, they come up and you swipe, whether left is yes and right is no. You literally are only seeing a preview of what they're saying. And then you swipe yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So you kind of get to be judgy in a way that you won't do that in person. If you're talking to somebody in person, you get a good conversation from them, and then you choose to exchange numbers and call it a day. And then maybe y'all have a conversation later. Versus online dating, you get to judge somebody without even hearing them out.
So with that in mind, what are some of the key indicators that that you will be interested in? And let me, I guess, digress to the point where we know men are not as communicative as women. So naturally, there is a drawback. Now, if a person come online and look too good, is that an indicator as well as a person who cannot articulate themselves?
Okay, so it depends on what you mean by too good. So here's the thing. This might be a good pointers for a bit in general. Humor, you can find humor. You can just be honest. You can just be yourself. Sometimes it's the pictures. Sometimes it actually takes a second eye. Maybe a homegirl, maybe a sister, maybe somebody you trust to look at your profile to see, are you even highlighting the things that are cool about you. Then there are some people who lead with their trauma and past dating experiences, and they want to be honest, but sometimes you can be too honest, and that ends up like deterring people. So just like, I'm going to give you an example of if it was me, and my profile would be a no. If I say, okay, my name is Renika, I only date men with degrees, you can't have any kids, no cats, no dogs. If you can't hop on one leg, don't even reach out to me. If you've never been here, you're not worth talking to, leave me alone. Like, those type of profiles exist. I didn't say anything about myself. I've told you what I don't like. Right. And for any sensible person, even if I'm a good person, I just want to lead with, okay, well, I would not be interested in my profile myself. It's not engaging. It doesn't make me want to reach out. Oftentimes people will put they went to HBCU. Well, that is a connection I would have. And that could be an intro to me saying, what HBCU did you go to? Because I went to an HBCU as well. Things that, I guess, conversation starters. I do believe that some people are just not good at online dating, and I think I am one of them.
Well, since I had never done it before, I think I'd be pretty good at it. Just because I know how to be engaging and entertaining.
Well, you have to get to that, though. That's the thing. You're not having a conversation with me. You're only reading my bio and profile. In order to have the conversation, you have to say yes or no based on what you see alone. How would you be able to navigate that?
Well, and that's a good question, since I hadn't done it before. So with that in mind, has that the technology and being able to swipe left or right, has that given you an advantage or a disadvantage?
I think with my personality, it's giving me a disadvantage. I pay attention to too many details, and that is my downfall. So, if you look at a picture, some people look at a picture and say, oh, nice, the tree in the front, if the tree is in the front of the picture. I'm the person that's looking behind the tree to see who is that lady that's at the table behind the tree to the left. Like, I'm paying too much of attention to stuff. So I'm easily distracted when I have time to look and investigate what's going on. Someone that I meet in person, you have that genuine conversation. You can kind of feel the energy that you can't feel through online dating with technology. Now, the other thing with technology is communication. Let's just say I did match with someone. Ways to communicate. There's so many ways to communicate that I feel like there should be no excuse. It goes beyond having to call somebody's house phone and sending a note with a pigeon. Now you have call, text, FaceTime, video, other video chat apps, social media. There's so many things or ways that you can communicate. So there's no real excuse on my end. So my opinion, that's how I feel.
So let's talk about, I guess, have you ever, well, I know you're aware of speed dating. And do you think that's another effective alternative?
So this year,
I sit down with somebody and you just have a few seconds to.
I'm excited. That is a goal of mine this year, to speed date. I think I do well with speed dating. I'm good at asking questions. I'm good at answering questions directly. I think from the ones that I see, you get maybe 3 to 4 minutes to communicate, and then you keep moving on. And then at the end of the night, you decide how that works out with the organizers of the event. I think that will be fun because it gives you, it's similar to, I guess, online dating where you swipe left or right. You still get that brief encounter with that person. However, you get a splash of the face-to-face because you're able to ask the questions right in front of them and see their facial expressions, feel their energy, and then keep it moving. And technically, you're pretty much going on 10 days in one night.
Soul brothers and soul sisters, we are talking with Renika Latisse Smith of Renika Latisse Consulting. We're going to take a short break and we can come back and get back into the dating scene. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Renika Latisse Smith or Renika Latisse Consulting, and we're talking about dating in 2023, opposed to the last time I dated was in 1980. Got to make sure I get that correct. So, do you think reality TV has enhanced online dating or kind of deterred online dating? And I'm speaking of the shows like The Bachelor in particular and The Bachelorette.
I have watched The Bachelorette and The Bachelor, a few seasons of it, and also the other, 90 Day Fiance, all these other reality TV shows. And I don't know if it has any effect on dating at all. I think we look at it in the bucket of just reality TV in general. It is good for some of us just to see the personalities that are out there and what people are really looking for. And also, it's for me, it's a good assessment. How am I showing up when it comes to dating? What am I displaying when the intent is to date? Now, what I do like about those type of shows is, for the most part, you can, if you sign up for the show, the goal is to leave, be the last person standing, right? So I guess you will be putting your best foot forward and being aggressive. My only thing about it is how aggressive you are with the dating while on the show. Does that translate after the show? I'm not sure about that aspect of it, but I don't think it has any effect. It may enlighten people on how interesting dating is. It may also promote people that are married to stay together, because it can be a headache to find someone these days.
Well, I agree with that, because if I was single, I will probably have a very, very interesting, I would say, put interesting time, even considering going out into the dating field, which lead me into when I was seriously, doing the different phases of dating, and actually my biggest dating period was in college. I was trying to find someone that I can talk to, someone who enjoys sports, someone who had a sense of humor. When I became to get serious about, moving to the next step, asking somebody actually, then I guess pre-engagement or engagement, and actually seeking a eternal relationship, which means marriage. I wanted somebody that I guess who were spiritually connected with me, who had the same similar beliefs structure, as well as we had things in common and things that we can relate outside of just that feeling of love, and that feeling that we can stay on the honeymoon forever. What are some of the things that you look for if you were going to take those steps from dating to actually being serious with someone?
Okay. So this might be to my detriment. So this is me being transparent and honest. there's no difference from dating to the next step for me as far as what my criteria is. Maybe I should be a little less strict, but I'm not. The same thing. I need a partner. I need a life partner, because that's what I go in. I go into it assessing if they would be a good life partner. Like, I'm not here for fun. I have homegirls that I love hanging out with. I don't need somebody for that. So it would be someone who is funny. And when I say funny, my humor is not like everybody else's. So I need someone who understands dark humor and sarcasm. I am a single parent, but I'm not the normal single parent. I am quite active. And I can't have somebody who thinks they can compete for attention. That does not work for me. I am a loner, so I need somebody who's okay with that and doesn't take offense or feel rejected when I need my space. Somebody who loves sports, that's for sure. Like, I love sport to another level. I need someone who is ambitious. He's got to be spiritual. He's got to know God for himself. I need somebody who loves what they do, or they're on their way to loving what they do. I think that's important. I need someone who understands that therapy is mandatory. That has got to be something that you are interested in some form of fashion, whether it's couples therapy, therapy on your own, any type of therapy, to be honest. I need you to be healthy. I need you to believe in physical therapy, if that's the case. Health is wealth, to me. And I have some more as well. But they have to fit in my family. I have a large family. And when we get together, you won't know the in-laws from the blood relatives most of the time. And if you can't get in where you fit in, that could be a major problem. So for me, I'm always looking at someone with those eyes. In addition to, I'm looking at myself. Would I fit into his life without agitation? Because that's what you want. You don't want to cause agitation in someone's life. How do you benefit them as well as they benefit you?
One of the things, and this is part of my theory, from high school to college, you can date potential. And I even go further to maybe in your late 20s, you can date potential. My concept is from the 30s and the 40s, that individual should be all the trial and error about their lives and about their careers and about their goals and objectives should be narrowed in. And from the 40s to the 50s to the 60s, I think that person should be on the road to wherever they are going to. And the reason why I said I would be hard for me to date, because as you get older, not necessarily set in your ways, but you have those things that you will tolerate, and there's some things that there's some non-negotiables. One of my non-negotiable is a person who is not a spiritual person. So what are some of the things that, I guess, from the context of what I just said, can you expound on relating to what you're thinking about the dating world?
Well, again, I want to preference this disclaimer. This is my views and opinions about dating. It's different for men and women, to be honest. The expectations of women 30s and 40s and the expectations of men in their 30s and 40s are totally different. Unfortunately, sometimes it's unfair. And I do believe because of how my generation grew up, oftentimes we did things because our parents wanted us to do, what society felt that we should do. And we didn't get the leeway of finding ourselves in our 20s. We kind of got guided into what society thought we were supposed to do. So well, I'm like going to college. Okay. Some people were forced to go to college or voluntold to go to college. So they went to college, They may or may not have even picked their major, right? So they went into a field, and let's just say in your 30s and 40s, you've had this nice career and realize and have not been happy in it this whole time. So yes, you're stable, but you're unhappy in your career. I wouldn't want to date someone like that. And but if you were unhappy in your career and you decided, I'm a lawyer, I'm an attorney, I still wanted to do that, but I also want to be a stand-up comedian. I feel like that type of person would be somebody I would be more interested in, because that is I understand why you did what you did and what you're trying to do to kind of balance that out. So that's professionally, that's the only thing. Mentally, emotionally, I do believe your 30s and 40s are when you need to take accountability. It's time to kind of hone in on things you want to work on and what you don't want to work on. And you're right. By 50s and 60s, whatever you are is how you are. Yes, you can still progress and work on some things, but it shouldn't be the tall list of things that you should be working on in your 30s. And also, these days, a lot of people are choosing to wait to get married into their 40s and 50s. So dating and relationships and courtships are happening at a different type of pace than they would be in your 20s and 30s.
So with that in mind, what would you tell your 16-year-old self about dating? What, now that you know what you know now, what advice would you give Renika Latisse Smith, a 16-year-old, about her future?
Oh boy, I don't even know. This might be the most controversial thing I say. What I would tell my 16-year-old self would be take all the gifts, keep all the gifts, do not give the gifts back. Travel more. Make sure it's financially beneficial if you're going to date somebody. Be open and honest with yourself. Do not compromise. Your safety is absolutely important. And again, still don't get married until you want to get married. Who cares what society says about when you're supposed to get married or when you're supposed to do what? Nobody has to live the life but you. Now, that's a nice way I'm going to say it, but I really would tell myself it's not that serious to be committed to someone just for the sake of being committed. You're not even going to remember most of these guys that you really thought you liked anyway. So keep the gift for memory's sake.
So, I know you mentioned that you're a single parent. What and this is going to be your last question. What advice will you give your child about dating?
The advice I would give my child about don't feel pressured to do anything you don't want to do when you want to do it. Always be true to yourself. Leave people better than you found them. Don't compromise yourself just for the sake of being in a relationship. They're not that deep. Because he's a teenager, so there's that. I would also tell, don't invest your time in people that you're not sure about. And don't introduce somebody to something that you can't maintain.
Wow, that's awesome. This is Renika Latisse Smith of Renika Latisse Consulting. Thank you so much for being on our show. And, I think I need to have you on a monthly basis. That's just my opinion.
I'm sure I have plenty to talk about.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, Renika Latisse Smith.
Thank you.